Hello and welcome to Kinship Earth Connections. I'm your host, Lauren Archer, Executive Director of Kinship Earth. On behalf of our founders, Susan Davis Mora, Walter Mora, and Stephen Gomes, our advisory team, our donors, members, and extended community of kindred spirits, we'd like to thank you for joining us today. Before I introduce today's distinguished KINS members, Grandmother Jyoti Ma and Grandmother Loretta Afraid of Bear Cook, I'd like to share a bit about the KINS network phenomena for those of you who are new to our community. For over 40 years, Susan Davis Mora has established over 40 KINS innovation networks of heart-centered earth advocates who are working all over the world to raise consciousness, to transform our global economy and systems from fear and greed to generosity and love. KINS members recognize that we are part of one whole, interconnected living system, and our greatest passion is spontaneously collaborating on projects and initiatives that are collectively ushering in the regenerative renaissance. We are playing what Buckminster Fuller called the world game, with a goal of making humans net positive to nature. We play using the strategy of generosity, and we only win when we all win. At each Kinship Earth Connections event, we introduce members of the KINS community to share progress on their initiatives, help facilitate introductions and strategic alliances, and foster our growing community as one global network. Today, we are delighted to welcome Grandmother Jyoti Ma. She is the vision keeper of the Center for Sacred Studies. She co-founded the Kayumari Community and helped to convene the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers and Unity Concert. She founded the Fountain in order to restore an economic model based on reciprocity and collaboration, guided by nature and the sacred. She is a delegate of the Mother Earth Delegation of United Original Nations. And Grandmother Loretta Afraid of Bear Cook. Grandmother Loretta is a Lakota elder committed to ensuring the world is a better place for her grandchildren. She is a keeper of her culture and the female Sundance leader for the Afraid of Bear American Horse Sundance. Fluent in Lakota, Loretta serves as a cultural specialist for the Fountain and is the only representative who speaks both languages perfectly on the board of the Paha Sapa Unity Alliance Black Hills Reparation, another organization with which she is affiliated. So let's all give a warm Kinship Earth welcome to our honored kindred spirits from the Fountain, and we will begin with a special blessing from Grandmother Loretta.
Hey, honey, washte chichapi. Good morning. From where I'm sitting, it's still morning yet here, and I'm sure where you're at, it has been a beautiful day. And so I would like to reach out and talk about Yetu, which is the way we call the fall equinox. And so this is a time for celebration for us. So I'm going to step into that fall prayer, and I'm going to reach out in a very heartfelt greeting that I give to you would be, I'm reaching out to touch your face as I go into this prayer. So bear with me as I ask for blessings for our gracious hosts and for the people that are on this network. I appreciate each and every one of you coming on with us today so that we can sit together. Atewa kantka heche toye tuwali timohe uina jimpi ichuha tungashla lana nieni tawa heche makreglakia meniwancha kwakata opta ona hecha makho onoshpe yanke ina yaglashte yaglakante taktona leli wonglakakte heche tungashla na nie lana nieni tawa pi ho hechus eshka na wo okre Ohechuse Tungashla, creator and mother-in-law. Lenat Gashla Hechuse Chajichata Pichuha Tungashla Heche. Kaman Katakim Pavizano, we chose Ani Wong, Blake Washte Woki, Bachniki Nice Wables, Lenoia Cookte. Ohechek Wong Lakapi Lena, Unkichi Ashtipi, Dagum kia ki lena awa ja kia ki heo. Neni trokabu hina juna ho just e hoyo ni chapi. O im kantungashi lai cha ushu ya la kokti watching chair. In chi la koto yate. Washi tu. O he che oyate zipi. Hona oyate hache sapapi. The not gashi lai just a you up gala unkina juna ho just a. Ola kota el unkamanipi. Holina hina heche tukte. Ho mitaku ya ye oyasi. All my relations. Thank you so much for your time and your attention.
Itakwe Uyasin. I'm Petu Washta.
Namaste. Namaste.
Well, I just want to reach out. Thank you, Loretta. Thank you for this beautiful prayer. We're in that moment when light and dark is equal. We're in a moment of balance. And that moment of balance is informing us. So I'm thankful to be able to gather with you around this equinox time. And each and every one of you are significant in what is transpiring. So I give thanks, and my heart is full of gratitude that you're showing up for the moment we're in. So with that said, the fountain is a decade old. In 2012, I received a vision and got seed funding, which took myself and Loretta, Freda Bear Cook with me, my sister, and they said they'd been waiting for her. We went to Colombia because I wanted to make sure that I had received the vision correctly, that the earth herself was putting something in motion that I wasn't getting in the way of, but was listening appropriately and deeply enough to get that instruction. And to my surprise, when we showed up, there were representatives from all the 4 original people of Colombia. And at this point in time, we've worked with the Wiwa, the Arawaki, and the Kogi most closely. For what they saw in that vision was that we were hearing it correctly and that they wanted to sit on the fountain and provide its instruction. So the rhythm that has brought the fountain to sit at the table with you today is that they go into consultation. And that consultation can be 3, 5, 10 days. When they're in consultation, they are absorbed by the source. And that source brings that instruction back. They hand it to us, we walk it out, we hold ceremony of gratitude for what we've learned in that walk. We go back for that next level of consultation, and so it has been. That's the rhythm that has carried us here now. All along the path, people have been asking me the question, what is the fountain? And most recently, we had some of our team sit with me for about an hour and a half, and just a lot of things flowed with the stories and the way things have come and the teachings that we received and the purification and fires that we went through to bring you what our story is today. And they've put that together in a little short video that answers that question or begins to. So Lauren, if you could play that video, that'd be great. What is the fountain? At this very critical prophetic moment, we came to discover that economy of life is what the fountain is all about. They call it the fountain for natural order of our existence. In the original days, when we were working with sacred economy of life, then reciprocity is the foundation of all life, and all things care for each other. And so there is a sustainability, a flourishing that occurs naturally through reciprocity. There are original principles and protocols that were given to all the original people in all the different varied territories around this planet. For a sacred economy to flow, we have to have our resources flow and care for our lands, our territories, to care and protect the original cultures that have the ceremonies to keep those territories fully lit and moving a healthy, abundant way with life. those original principles that are the core to all of this are seen and usually brought into place and connected to very much the creation story of each of the original nations around the planet. Generosity, compassion, tolerance, these are some of the original principles that create this foundation of life, if you will. And so we've been instructed through this last 10 years in those protocols, because we're moving from man law and returning to mother law, from a sense of competition to a sense of collaboration. We're moving from greed into reciprocity, from power over to equality, from an oppressed state to heart and love. We're moving from division to unity, from the ownership of Earth to the understanding that all life is sacred and no one owns life. We care for life. We're moving from an attitude of extraction back to allowing a process of life to guide us and show us the next steps we need to take. So for me, the fountain has come through this very deep training process with the earth herself instructing us. She has helped us remember a way of life. It is connecting with our understanding that we are part of creation. We're not lords of creation. We must listen to the instruction of Mother Earth because she's done this before and she knows how to go through this cycle. And we're prepared to assist her in that process of her evolution, which means she's moving into her own ascension process, as my elders speak about it. And we're awful lucky if we're all sitting in the circle and you are listening to the sharing of this story right now in this poignant moment of choice. So we need to come back to the nature of who we are, each and every one of us. We need to sit with that nature, commune and unify as we move through the keyhole and into the new dawn. So for me, that's what the fountain has been about. I'm sharing the different levels that you can see. It's a very much of an interweaving of different levels of understanding and educating and awakening within each one of us the significance of our own authenticity. Because in the end, she's bringing us back to the original point of the making.
Thank you.
I hope that touched on a little bit of it. But I want to stay right there because I'm a storyteller. The stories climb in my lap as I make my walk, and they seem to be the parts that want to come forward to bring the teachings of the moment I'm in. So I want to honor that by saying that, as you can see, this is the work that we're all about is moving us towards whole system ways of holding and looking at life, and whole systems ways of approaching to regenerate and restore what needs to be brought back into balance for this ascension process to continue its walk into the new dawn. And so I'm just so humbled at this point in my life. I'm in my mid-70s now, that some of this work, and this work has come out of 35 years, so 3.5 decades of a community walking with the intention of following a process and allowing the great ones to direct that process, the elders to come in, help us remember ourselves and to start to walk in to and restore a way of life that's based on those original principles like I spoke about. And so I want to start back by that visitation of the Mamos. Because about 4 years ago, Mamo Lorenzo was with us. We were in our annual retreat in upstate New York, and just towards the end of the meeting, he leaned across and he said to me, Jyoti, it's time for the fountain to have its staff. And everybody got quite excited by this, but I have received these kinds of things before, and they shake your world up because they're so strong in their intention. And you have to surrender a lot, go through a lot of purification, not only individually, but our field. So our whole community has to prepare for what it means to receive something so sacred. Out of that, dialogues began. Mendahi and I were asked to be kind of the caretakers of these staff as this walk began. They got back to us and said, it's time now for you to contact one of the elders in Greenland, because that elder, the spiritual being of Greenland oversees the eagle condor line. And so you must ask him, what are the animal totems there that would help to bring this unification together? And so I hadn't met Uncle then, who lives in Greenland. Many of you may know him. He's now part of the Mother Earth delegation, and we've become really great friends in our walk in these last couple of years. But he got back with us and he said there were 4 animal totems. There was the eagle, the bear, the whale, and the spider for unification. And so we took this information back to the Mamos. They came back and they said, now there will be 8 staff, 4 for the feminine with these animal totems and 4 for the masculine with these animal totems. Then the staff started to walk. They first went to Mama Lorenzo, where he had 2 houses of original thought that were facing one another, one for the masculine, one for the feminine. So the masculine staffs went into the feminine hut, and the feminine staffs went into the masculine hut for this balance to be achieved. Then we were called to gather at a fire at his place, and the elders gathered with us, and they told us now it's time for the staff to start marching. So they marched all the way across Colombia in the hands of the elders that took them to the top of the mountains for the blessing of the masculine spirits, and into the valleys and waters for the blessing of the feminine spirits. They went all across Colombia and touched many sacred sites, went through many ceremonies, and they came back to Mama Manuel. And I was told that in the original days of this creation, there were 9 staff that carried the protocol for this creation. 2 of those 9 staff were left, and our 8 came to sit with the father staff of those that Mama Manuel still watches over. And for 9 months, they sat there. And then I received a call. You see, because we've been called into putting down a land trust there for the Kogi, because there were a lot of land grabbing going on. And what that means is that people were taking the Kogi's original territory. They were then requiring them to pay rent to live there. And if they wouldn't, they were burning down their huts and beating them up. So as a response to that, many of the fountain really answered a call from Mama Manuel about that. And we were able to acquire very small acreage there, at which point I got a call. This will probably be one of those most significant calls in my life, and it humbled me greatly and still does. I was called because there are still villages at the top, what I call the top of the world. They're called the Asumas, and that means the village of source. And so I was we have an organization that we're working very closely with over there with some of this land trust work. Adriana, who's been the lead in most of this with me, called, and she had been invited to the top of the world. She had been invited into ceremony. They wanted to know what the fountain was doing. They wanted to know more and understand, what do we mean by land trust? Well, for us, that means that the land belongs to itself again. She Mother Earth belongs to herself again. And those that are original caretakers are there, protected and safe in their culture, remaining with their living languages and their protocols. And so then they invited the Fountain of Me there, and Westerners have not been to this part of the world. So I took that with a big responsibility. The messages continue to unfold, and they asked me to listen to the staff and who would hold each of the staff. So I went to the Mother Earth delegation, and I prayed on this for weeks, listening carefully, wanting to really be clear in this intention. And the staff finally spoke, and they said that there were already many that had touched the staff as they came into this walk. First was Mandahi and myself, then was Uncle that had offered this information, then was Eleonora and Korakindi, who had helped to create a cross of understanding with the staff. Then they said that it needs to be sure to have all the 4 directions represented, and we need one in the West, which became Jinky, our Aboriginal elder there, and with the dream lines, and in the East, which became our Itubishmi shaman, Nabasipa, who live high in the mountains of India and protect the tigers. So these are the 8 staff that have been brought together in a moment where they are telling us that they told me this the middle of last month, and we were able to flow some resource so they could start laying down pagamentos along the Black Line, which is the sacred pilgrimage line that connects all the 4 original people's sacred territories, that they would continue to lay down prayers at the sea and in other sacred sites. And through the month of September, because we were entering a time where a big event was about to happen that would shift the platform underneath all feet. So with that much said, I just want to bring this because it is how we receive instruction. It is how we proceed with every step we take. They have created and asked us that they want us to be a platform where they can educate the awakening, is the way they put it. And so they are creating some videos and other things that they will bring when it's time to present to the world as part of that instruction. And they've created this video in order to bring that instruction through the staffs themselves. So could you play that video for us, Lauren?
Amazonas manda cielo, cielo se sisa luna indi.
Mengenai saya pokoknya kah, oi, namanya dapat kita jodoh kahai sendiri, hal apa dia ikut ini sulit sebenarnya.
Oh
Sanayutuchiga Ilinutu Asan Nindibu Suyuni Narituan Ara Mani Silo Suami Silo Sua Umitido suci lalu sapa naji isi mana asuci Oh, grazie.
So I want to just bring an attention to the living language, because the living language is really generating this reconnection with each other, and this unification process that we are in the current with right now. And I want to honor what that a traditional wording for Kogi was Kagaba. So it's the Kagaba Nation that is bringing you this message today. From that work, there were 5 of us that traveled there to receive these staff in the ceremonial way at the top of the world. And then there were 3 that could not travel out of country. Loretta was helping with her husband Tom to hold Sundance. So the eagle and the condor were truly dancing around this time of the solstice when we were brought into Colombia to receive the staff. And then Jinky and the Itubishmi could not leave their country. So I have just come back from Australia and taking Jinky, her staff, who is our elder there, our Aborigine elder who stands with the Dreamlines. Loretta had received instruction that her staff should not travel by air anymore. And so she and her sister and brother-in-law traveled all the way from South Dakota on their pony, I call it, in their car, to come and to receive the sacred staff here at my home, where we did ceremony at the fire, and then went down to the sea to connect these waters of this great Mother Earth, this star seed of life that we call Mother Earth. And the last one will be sent out. We're holding it in the UK. We have a gentleman named Sahil, who is the collaborator and coordinator and translator for the Irobishmi, and he will be picking up the staff. And so by October, all the staffs will be in their territories and well planted in order to prepare for this big event that is coming. So this is in motion as we speak. So you're in the current with us. So it'll be interesting to see what it may stir and what you all hold individually, because there is no mistake that this call was set up some time ago and then all this went into motion. I also want to revisit that what they wanted after they've created this, we've created this first land trust, is they wanted then Taneka, which is their, what they call the first village of the Kagaba, that opens up to their territories to be put in land trust. And so as of the end of this month, that will happen. So our second land trust is now they say this is creating a key that will unlock all this untangled land in Colombia itself. So what will happen then, we don't know, because I try not to get ahead of the story. I really want to stay behind how it's guiding us. So they'll be going into consultation and letting us know what those next steps are. And each of our staffs was blessed by some of the mamos, and they're the ones receiving instruction from the earth about the activity of the staffs. And so we're kind of poised in a moment of growth. What has occurred through all of this is that the mamos are now coming down and meeting with the mamos in Taneka, and a big unification process in that world of the Kagaba nation is occurring as we speak. And we get to be a witness and in service to that process. So that just touches on some of the work that's going on with the fountain right now. And the last piece I will mention is that these original principles, and I know, Susan, that you've incorporated them within KINS from the beginning. And now we're coming to another level of understanding of original principles. We are in the process of, with our collaborating partners, to go into what I'm calling the God's Lab with a few of these partners, and we're ready to receive the instruction of how to create an instrument that will allow us to go into different companies and organizations and movements that are ready to transform their cultures and return to a culture that's based on original principle. Then we've really flipped that economy, that system of economy right side up again, where all life is seen as sacred and all are valued. And with that, I want to pass it to my sister Loretta so she can touch just for a few minutes on the sacred territory work we continue to do there in the Black Hills, but also through that work we're on the ground learning, because what we've learned is when you come into a sacred territory, the first thing you do is you get permission to re-enter that territory. And then the elders have their own protocol for that territory that instruct us how to restore it. And from that point, the regeneration can begin from that first floor of being restored in that sacred ritual way of those original caretakers and the ceremonies of that territory coming to us first. Loretta, is there any wisdom you would like to add now around all that?
Thank you, sister. I want to greet Sister Susan and Brother Walter for carrying this very sacred work of KINS throughout the world. It gives me hope that eventually we're going to see the change that happens in all the categories in which we live our lives. And a lot of that is how that we interact with our own communities, because as Native people, from my people, we're a communal people. And so we do everything with that in mind. It isn't about an individual activity that goes on. So I would like to say thank you to them for bringing this to the world. One of the sacred laws that and virtues that we grow up with have to do with kinship, and it's one of the first laws that we address, and it's called Tiwahe. And Tiwahe means that you keep all of your community people in a circle around you, so that everything is shared and given, taught and received, and that if you have more than enough for your family, that you give it on to the next one that you see is in need. The elders are taken care of. The orphan children are taken care of. The women who have lost their husbands are taken care of. So the whole village is well taken care of. And in there, we have these laws that we have governed ourselves for thousands of years. And so to look at kinship as the one foundation piece that we as Native people hold near and dear is what brother and sister are doing out in the world. And I really can appreciate that. The other three that go along with that is Wachante Oganake, which is generosity, your heartfelt effort. The other one is Woksape, which is wisdom to know when to and when not to. And Wowachin Tfunka, which is fortitude or courage. My mother, Beatrice Long Visitor Holy Dance, she had a teaching for us. And when the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers came together, my mother was virtually like the 13th one to be sitting down on that circle. And one of the things that they asked her was when the circle convened, that Sister Jyoti was one of the co-founders and had this big vision bringing all of these women together. And it happened. And they put their agenda items on the table. And I heard my mother in 2004, when the grandmothers were putting their thoughts down, they asked her, what would you like us to take a look at? And there were two things that she mentioned. She said, I want the papal bulls rescinded that have governed their influence all over the world, in which all our federal Indian laws are based on those papal bulls that we are living under here under the government in the United States. And the second thing was that she wanted to see the Black Hills territory, the sacred territories, return back to our stewardship. She said, I want to see this happen in my lifetime before I die. And in my mind, I thought to myself that those are almost impossible things. And that my mother could even speak that language. But as I grew to understand it better, I attention very, very quietly and succinctly. I needed to know what that was about. So I've been hearing her talk this language over and over, and when you want something to succeed or to be brought attention to, you repeat it. You don't change anything, you don't add anything. You continue to say the same words over and over and over, and that brings that to bear. It brings it, we manifest it. So using all of these elements in our arsenal of our sacred bags, we tend to begin to share that with others as much as they want to receive it. As Native people, we are always happy to share. And so at this point in time, the thing that my mother said to us was that she said, have courage, because without courage, you have no justice. And without this, you have no freedom. And without freedom, there is no peace. And so that became my guiding motto, or the thing that I kept in front of me. And then in our prayers, in the knowledge that we have as Native people, we have science, we understand math, we understand all of these principles on which we guide ourselves. However, there are differences in how we transmit or how we receive the things that we can exchange or are used to help each other. And there's a difference in how money works into that. So for very many years, my mother told us, you have to work hard. You have to understand what is it that we're up against all the time, because we are up against something. And so one of the works that I have focused on was to try to get the government. And today, it seems as if there might be an opportunity, although we say that each and every time. And the reason why I'm so staunch on this issue is because when I think back to in our science, if you look at it, I'm this in my DNA, I am the same exact replica of my mother's DNA. And she's the same exact replica as her mother, and so on, all the way back. And forward to my daughters, my granddaughters, my great granddaughters, were the same exact replica. And so in our prayers, there are two that we mention. One, Shka, which is the very male. We give that honor to Shka, which also can be called sacred movement, or the great vibration, life, some call creator. And then the female side is Wo'opre, and Wo'opre translates to the law of the females. And so this law that I'm talking to you about has to do with what we know in our bodies, in that we are in the belief that everything spiritual needs a physical container. So we become that physical container. So we have to know and understand what this function is in our system, in our world around us. And in those elements that we call the law of the females, how that translates to how we actually own everything. And so we have to take care of everything the way we are as female. So it's called mother law. And so the connection there is that in our lives, we females are always going to be more women in the world than there are men. And so we have to balance that. So we love and respect and cherish our male. They are a gift to us. Because not every woman in the world is going to have that male presence in her life, whether it be her father, her grandfathers, her brothers, her husband, her sons, her grandsons. Not every woman is going to have that. And so it's a very sacred duty that we have, that we take care of that part of our lives that we know about. And so when we're dealing with all of these things, then we have to take a look at how that we walk on Earth Mother. We're the vessel that stands between heaven and earth. And those stewardship rights come through us from those elements that we are in the world with. And so we are actually stardust, and our creation stories reflect that. And so when we make our prayers, we start with the sun immortal, Wika, and then it's air immortal, Nafika, and then it's earth mother immortal, earth, Makaka, and then the stone the burning rock, the liquid rock that sits at the very center of the earth that keeps everything in balance is called Ia, rock immortal. Rock immortal translates to Ia in Ia Ka. And Ia was we refer to Ia as our first grandfather. And the first grandfather that had dealings in our creation story was Shka, creator, and Wo'opre, mother-in-law. And so there's much to be said about all of these things in balance to how we hold Earth Mother. And then the next element there is Mini Ka, water immortal. And then Preta Ka, fire immortal. And then we have Unji Hanwi. Unji Hanwi is moon immortal. So from the sun, the air, the earth mother, the rock, the water, the fire, and then the moon. These things, this is where our balance is. And so we transmit that. We do it by ages during our fertile time and so on, back to when we become this old person. And as we stand on this earth mother, we have to remember that there are 4 continents that we are all born from. Our people come from this continent, from the top of Alaska all the way down to Patagonia in South America. This is what we have to take care of. We have to know everything that is connected with that. And so when we throw up our hands and say, don't cut the forest down, don't block the water up, don't run this, don't run that, we actually are telling you and giving you that warning that we're causing chaos and balance. And so to align that, Sister talks about a path and ascension. And today, these are the things that are more important to me as a grandmother. I want to be able to say to my grandsons, Tokala and Omani, that I did the best that I could for my grandsons, and that I want to be able to leave this world in a better place than it is today. It used to be wonderful, and we want to get back to that. If we could just allow spirit to guide us. Suzanne and Walter will probably tell you, when you allow that in, then you actually are the sacred bundle that you are. We can recognize these things. And so I'll just say about that much, because the work on the Black Hills continues. I worked with a group called Black Hills Unity, and the groups are gathering themselves here in the United States. Pope Francis came to Canada to apologize to all of those youth that were found buried in mass graves in Canada. And so we want to reach out to him that everything comes in force. And so whatever medium we can use, we invite Pope Francis to come back to the United States. Then he'll have to go to Central America. Then he has to go to South America. So there's still his work to be done. And we're ready and standing here ready to help him do that work. And so within this sacred territory that we're talking about, there are very many duties and works to be done. And we offer to engage with you, to tell you, to share with you ceremonies that have sustained us for thousands of years. And there are those of us who still talk the language. We are the language. We are the people that we say we are. We have no word for compromise in my Oglala language. There is no word. You either are or you aren't. So when we find partners that have that same vision, I am thankful, and I say thank you to you, and I want to ask you for your blessing. Thank you very much for your time.
Ooh. And so, Lauren, this us grandmas now will pass it back to you in this time where we can open up circle for more sharing or any questions people may have. we give thanks to every one of you for taking this time to listen in deeply with us.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. I see Stephen already has his hand up, so go ahead, Stephen.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I have a great deal of gratitude for the work that you're doing, Jyoti, as you know. Also, Loretta, I knew your mother and her sister, both Rita Long Visitor Holy Dance and Beatrice Long Visitor Holy Dance. I've been there, spoke the language with them to the degree I could. Mitakwe Oyasin. I learned a great deal from Sam Moves Camp, who adopted me into his personal family in his Teoshpe. And I still carry with me my sacred feather, which he tied personally, the knot. And I follow the good red road as much as I can. Anyway, I appreciate you very much. I also wanted to say that I just came back from visiting with the Kogi in Stockholm, and I was on a private island, and we had a shaman from the Swedish Sami tribe. And that shaman and the Kogi, they didn't need a common language. They could talk to each other through the silent language, and they did. And it was really amazing to be there and share that space. And the Kogi, when they saw these different buildings on this island, they said, no, we can't meet in those buildings. We will meet only in the teepee. So the whole time we were meeting in a teepee with the fire. Anyway, and Wendy, who you see here, Wendy, I guess we can say that I met Wendy on the island. Why don't you raise your hand? Just wave your hand, Wendy. Okay. I was just drawn to what Wendy's work is in the world and extended her an invitation to be joining the Kinship Board of Directors. And while it's not totally official yet, unofficially, she has said yes. And I haven't even had a chance to talk to the other board members yet about all this. It's really only touched on it, but there'll be more meetings later about all that. But anyway, thank you, Jyoti, for the wonderful work you're doing with the 13 grandmothers. I've been in your home, and when I'm there, I feel so close to Mother Earth and to the sacred feminine. It's a pleasure always to be there. Thank you.
Thank you. Beautiful words.
All right, Wendy's got her hand up. So what perfect timing. Stephen tossing that to you. Welcome.
Jyoti and Loretta, I'm deeply called to this space. So to be in this space with you at this time, to bring my own ancestral line, to stand in this space and to hold the sacred staffs with you and to move this moment forward. I'm deeply blessed to be here with you and to take Susan's work forward. I mean, in this, it just moves me greatly that I will bring whatever I can in the fullness of who I am to whatever this work needs to be. So yeah, aho.
So hopefully we can get ways to connect with one another so we can continue a dialogue. Yeah.
Wonderful. And I see Walter has his hand up. Walter, please feel free to unmute yourself.
Jyoti and Loretta, it was so nice to hear well, I've heard a little bit what's going on recently, but to get a better perspective on it. But I just wanted to add that, many years ago, Susan was invited to be part of the fountain because of her work in finance. And the deal was that she would join if I could be there too. So I was always very happy to go to the meetings. And then when we ended up buying the land outside Vilcabamba, and we had finished our community house, Jyoti and the Fountain asked if they could have their annual meeting on our land, and we said sure. And of course, you know, the Kogi are part of that, and they did their divination to make sure it was the right place to be. And they came back, said, yeah, we'll come, but only if we can come 4 times, because there's a sacred site that has to be reactivated. And so they did that. And then they invited us to build a house of original thought, a spirit house. And at first I was reluctant, like, what does that mean? You know, you're going to have this house, you know, standing on the property. How are we going to keep it alive? And then as they baptized it, the next visit, they lit a fire and said, this fire is never allowed to go out. And we hadn't really thought about that. But actually, that's what keeps the spirit house alive, because we have to go there 3 or 4 times a day, if not more. And we have a lot of volunteers that changes their lives too. And so that connection with the Kogi has been very important. And they came again about a year ago. And we were asked them to work with water because we want to reforest our mountain, but we don't have enough water there. And they did a ceremony. And we were up on the mountain just 3 days ago. And the springs are just flowing so strongly. And it means we're going to be able to irrigate part of the top of the mountain, or make a green belt so that we can grow have trees up there. So we're very excited, and we're hoping they'll come back in May too, because we're buying new land next door, and then they can do the ceremony around that land too, because they have such deep in ways they're skills, but it's much deeper than a skill. They have this deep wisdom and knowledge how to work with the earth still. And Loretta, when you said that your people, you know, it's all about kins and working together. Well, we're looking for partners who want to come and join us. But the main part of what we do at Finca Sagrada is to honor the sacredness of the land and hold that. So I found it's actually quite difficult to find people who understand that concept, that we're here to steward a piece of land. You know, people often think, oh, we'd really like to go there. We can have our house and grow vegetables and things, but it's much more than that. It's about stewarding this sacred site and taking care of the fire and honoring the Apu of the mountain. And just as humans do ceremony, I think it means so much for the whole earth. Yeah, and we are honored that we have our main partners, Jose and Carmen, who are leaders in the Pulsar movement. And on Thursday we did an equinox ceremony, and it's so beautiful that we can still do ceremonies like that. So and this all really came out of the work with the Fountain and Jyoti and Loretta. So thank you so much for being on this, describing today and being on this call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else feel called to share?
I'll just share about the when I was 27, I was very uncomfortable because of the way Earth was being treated. And I felt that my life purpose was to transform finance, to restore Earth instead of destroy it. And I did. That's what I spent my life doing. And it's now at a stage where Walter and I are using our farm to showcase how you can transform a whole large area, and that it's healthy for everyone. So using just the statement that our strategy is generosity has been a core of KINS from when I was 27, and it's spreading around the world now because it's proven better than any other method. So the collaboration that we've had with every one of you on this on this picture, it's wonderful. Our lives are rich. We're healthy. We're happy. Other people are noticing us and saying, that's the way I want to live too. So for all of us to honor each other with such depth and appreciate each other with such joy and restore Earth as our mission as humans is, it is such a blessing to be with all of you and all of our friends, because we're all one. So God bless you for imagining this, for making it happen, for honoring all of us, and God bless us all. Hallelujah.
Thank you, Susan. It feels like such a pregnant moment of possibility. And so Jyoti and Loretta, thank you so much for sharing the beautiful sacredness of the staff ceremony, and for us to bear witness to that and be in the emergence of what is coming forward. It's such an honor. Oh, wonderful. Lucas, I was hoping you were going to raise your hand and say something. So Lucas.
Thank you, Lauren. Yeah, really wonderful to be on this call and see everyone, and thank you for those wonderful presentations. So I'm here in Santa Marta in Colombia right now, from Massachusetts, and been working with the Kogi or Kagaba for a long time, and had the good fortune to be with Walter and Susan for a number of months last year, and had been hearing the whole story of the work of the fountain. And so it's wonderful now to hear the full story, and to sense what's happening in this moment and this whole coming together that Jyoti described. Hearing what grandmother Loretta was saying, it actually struck me just the power of these languages. I don't know if I heard clearly, but it sounded like the word you mentioned for water sounded very much like the Kogi word for water, which is ni. But it's wonderful to connect to these different languages and their ways of speaking of Mother Earth. Actually, right now, starting a couple days ago, it's often, I think my understanding is connected to this time of the equinox. There's way up high, as in sort of a little bit above what was in the video, there's 7 days of the kind of most sacred dances with the traditional masks that are happening right now. And one of my Kagaba friends just told me last night he was going to be leaving in the early morning to go up there. So it's nice to share this moment and for all of us to be conscious. And one of the things that I've learned from spending time with the Kogi, and this connects to what grandmother Loretta was saying about the law of the female, that I've had the fortune to be able to connect a lot with the Kogi and spend time with them, but it's very appropriate that grandmother Jyoti and grandmother Loretta, Adriana, that these women are carrying a process that's unfolding now. It's always women and men together, as Loretta was saying. But in the Kagaba culture, the Sakas, the women of knowledge, have a very, very special, very important role, a kind of connection that is unique. And so, and up until now, there's been very few women that have arrived here to manifest that connection. So it feels very important what's happening now. And today happens to be my birthday, so thank you for this.
Oh,
bravo.
Happy birthday.
Mazel tov.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I hope we can connect at a later time. I'd love to know more.
Wonderful. Thanks.
So
Thank you, Lucas.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So part of what we're doing here, and we're coming up at the tail end of our time together. I'm sensing a need, a want, a desire for time for all of us to check in and to say who we are and where we are and to have our voices heard as we weave our connections together. This format was not designed for that. This format is more to feature people in our community and to allow some Q&A. But show of hands, who would be interested in time for people to just come and do check-ins and find out who's working on what as we weave our networks together. In lieu of, okay, great. So we'll put that on the agenda. And in lieu of that, I wanted to let everyone know that we do have, we are working with technology. And at our next Kinship Earth event, Connections event, we will be featuring Caitlin Archambault and Jamaica Stevens, who are co-founders of the Open Impact platform. So instead of a mighty network where people come together and it's like, okay, you're all in our network and we have and hold you. The Open Impact platform allows us all to communicate and cross-collaborate with the various regenerative projects that are happening all over the world. So we're excited to bring that to you. It is in beta mode right now. There are certain barriers because you have to actually take time and create a profile and you have to learn. But I will put a link in the chat for how you can be part of our beta group. And we do look forward to more opportunities where we can weave our connections together. So Pete, can you make it brief as we bring this to a close? Oh, feel free to unmute yourself, Pete.
You're mute, Pete.
Yeah, I just want to express my gratitude for the work that you're doing. This is really, really powerful work. What's happening is we're conditioning the field for this ascension of humanity, and these are the pieces that are falling into place to make this happen. And I feel just such a strong connection. I recently discovered that my ability to experience nature as nature actually comes from the Kogi, and which was a real revelation. And so, yeah, if they come back, Walter, I'd love to time another visit to hang out with those guys some more, because it was incredible. Anyway, bless you all for doing the work. Bless for everybody for being here and being part of this movement to raise humanity. Just bless you all.
Awesome. Kenneth, you want to say a closing comment?
Super quick. I just wanted to share the word counsel. I feel so deeply in my heart that what is needed is counsel, time to counsel with one another, and all that you already shared. And that would be a huge blessing for me in my life to have space to counsel with you all. Thank you.
Thank you for that input. Yes, and the wisdom in this room is phenomenal. Everyone who's here is here because they've been drawn here. They're called here to serve. So we're just really delighted to share this time and space with you. And please stay connected with us again, and we'll continue to weave our networks together. So, Stephen's showing something there. What does it say? Be humble, for you are made of earth. Be noble, for you are made of stars. Yes, indeed. So much more to come. Grandmother Jyoti, Grandmother Loretta, thank you so much. Would you like to say any closing words before we end the call today?
Well, I just want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank my sister Loretta for her teachings today and that living language that flowed through everything. And therefore, in a way that we may not even know yet, is connecting us. We are where the clock is ticking like never before. There's an urgency to the birthing process. And so any ways that you can help us connect with resources and particularly around that will help us keep this moving in the time the Mother Earth needs, that's ever so appreciated. So just do a shout out that way. And Loretta, do you want to say anything, sis? You're muted, sis.
I keep my hand touching your face to all of you as we go through these days and into the winter. Love to each and every one of you. Thank you for having us. I'm very honored, Lauren.
Thank you all. Thank you, Grandmother Jyoti. Thank you, Grandmother Loretta. Thank you, Susan and Walter, for the seed ideas of what you're birthing. Thank you, Stephen Gomes, for being the initiator, the key initiator with the taking Kinship Earth to the next level. Every single one of you is in this room. So we'll see you next time. Thank you. You can unmute yourself and say goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us for this Kinship Earth Connections event. We encourage you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. To learn more about the work of Grandmother Jyoti Ma and Grandmother Loretta Afraid of Bear Cook and all of the contributors of the Fountain Network, you can visit them at thefountain.earth. To learn more about the work of Susan Davis Mura and Kins Innovation Networks and the ongoing work of Kinship Earth, please visit us at kinshipearth.org. Thank you.